It's before 7 o'clock on Sunday morning, and an early start for us today as we continue on our great journey from north to south across Europe. Although today, instead of going south, we're going north. Welcome to Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there. So far we've come from Oslo in Norway into the Arctic Circle to the town of Bodø, but today an epic journey by coach to the northern outpost of Narvik. Join us on the journey. The thing is, once you get this far north, your transport options are limited. There is no railway north of here, until you get to Narvik, that is, and then it only goes south, so it is a bus journey today. It's going to take us around about 5.5 hours from here in Bodø up to Narvik, and the cost of a ticket is around €40. Now, it doesn't matter what time of year you come here, there are around 2 buses a day from Bodø to Narvik, the number 100. One leaves in the morning, one leaves in the afternoon. The afternoon departure, though, doesn't get you into Narvik until after 9 p.m, which is why I've opted for the early one. Well, we're 90 minutes into the bus journey and we've just stopped at Fauske station. This is a spectacular part of the world. We've been around fjords, over bridges, through mountains on either side. The landscape has really opened up around us. This is what you come to this part of the world to see. And the weather's cleared up as well. It started off raining this morning, but the sun is trying to peek through now. It is at least dry. We've got a short break at Fauske station before we make our way over further to the north and the east. Well, we've been travelling for about 4 hours now and we have reached the ferry terminal at Bognes. Now here, the bus splits into 2. Well, it doesn't really. Just ahead of the ferry terminal, we changed onto the connecting bus. It's going to take us all the way to Narvik, and that's going to take about another 2 hours or so. Not quite sure how long the ferry crossing is, probably about 20-25 minutes or so. But the bus connections are all timed so that they meet each other and everybody gets off one bus and onto the next bus. The first bus we took is going onto a different island altogether.
It's worth bearing in mind that although the long-distance buses have a toilet on board, there aren't many stops along the way. A good tip is to make sure you bring plenty of water and snacks for the journey. During the summer months, these Arctic services also get really busy, so you're advised to book in advance. Use the Entur app, spelt E-N-T-U-R, which will let you plan bus, train and ferry trips right across Norway.
And 6.5 hours after we left Bodø, we've arrived in Narvik. That coach journey was fairly long, but it was spectacular. The sights of the fjords and the mountains and everything else of rural Norway that we saw was just beautiful. Even in today's grotty weather, it looked fantastic. So, nicely rested, it's time to find the accommodation. Now here's a Travelcaster tip. The bus from Bodø to Narvik stops, as you would imagine, at the Narvik bus terminal, but stay on the bus for an extra stop and get off at the Radhuset, the town hall, because that is going to be closer to most of your accommodation. And my accommodation is only a couple of 100 meters away, which is ideal. Although there's a very steep hill here, and right at the top of the hill, up some metal steps, which was all kinds of fun with a suitcase. We're here at the Breidablikk guest house. But I've got to say, the climb up that hill was worth it, because out here, from my room on the second floor down, because it's one of those sort of upside down houses, I've got a perfect view of the town and the harbour without all the industrial gumph that goes around the bus terminal. It's absolutely beautiful, well worth the walk up here. and well worth the view. And the room here was quite cheap as well by Norwegian standards. I paid less than £90 a night. It is a single room, and yes, there is a single bed, but it's a big single bed. There's enough for me to stretch out on here. No tea and coffee in the room, but there is tea and coffee in the lounge, which is free. So I'm quite comfortable with this. Can't get too comfortable though. There's a whole town to explore out there.
This is Travelcaster, and in this season we're travelling right across Europe from Bodø in Norway to Barcelona in Spain. Check out travelcaster.blog, where you'll find all of the details of how to get here and what to do when you arrive. And while you're there, you can also check out the Travelcaster A to Z, with more than 50 hand-picked locations to inspire your next trip.
Well, the weather has improved considerably since yesterday's shenanigans in Bodø, which is great because it's given me a chance to walk down here to the harbour in Narvik, and it's a beautiful, peaceful place at this time of the year. We're recording this in late March. Before me is a marina, most of the boats tied up for the winter, but strategically you can't understate the importance of this place because it is the only Arctic seaport that remains ice-free all year round, and that makes it really, really valuable in terms of trade and also in terms of defence. During the Second World War, this place played a huge part in the fight against the Nazis. The Polish were based here, as were many other nations, and that ice-free harbour also meant that Narvik was the place where all of Norway's valuable iron ore could be exported from, and it remains that place today. And unlike the ports in Sweden, which are on the Baltic Sea, this place never freezes over. Another thing I like about the harbour here in Narvik is that it's not overdeveloped. No cafes and restaurants adorning the waterfront, which could have easily happened, I guess, but they've decided not to. And that, to my mind, makes it a whole lot better than the usual hubbub of overpriced nonsense that you get on most waterfronts or on many waterfronts around Europe. This retains an air of authenticity, a traditional feel. Predictably, I've come to the railway station in Narvik, mainly to check out how long it's going to take me to walk down here for tomorrow morning's connection. But before me is a statue of Anna Rebecca Hofstad. You remember Anna, don't you? Also known as Svarte Bjørn. No, she wasn't the unknown fifth member of ABBA. She was in fact a local lady who served as a cook for the railwaymen. And that was a really important job back in the 19th century, because without cooks, the railwaymen wouldn't have got fed and the railway wouldn't have got built. However, Svarte Bjørn has got something of a local legendary status because nobody's quite sure what happened to her. Some say she died of TB, others say she had a row with a fellow cook, potentially over a man. Whatever it is, she's honoured today in this rather nice statue on this rather bleak outcrop next to the railway station. Svarte Bjørn, raise a glass. Now, the town centre in Narvik, a little bit like Bodø, is not going to win any aesthetic awards, but there are some charms about it. Behind me is a big sort of shard-like structure, and this was erected to mark the 50th anniversary since the end of the Second World War. It stands in what my map says is the city's main square, but at the time of recording, March 2026, it's all been dug up. Presumably it's going to be regenerated, but it's between the Scandic Hotel and the museum. And if you climb up the steps at the side of the museum, you get a really good view right over the city and to the fjord beyond. It's well worth the climb up here. And everything else is hilly, by the way. Almost everything is going to be uphill, especially your accommodations. Do bear that in mind. On the other hand, the harbour, which I've just been to see, was all downhill. Narvik by night has plenty to whet the appetite. Lots of pubs and restaurants, including this one, the Narvik Guten Pub. Plenty of locals here. One or two real characters, especially on a Sunday night when most of the town has gone home for the weekend to a nice cosy bed. it's the drunken ones that stay out, isn't it? It's the same everywhere, and it's no different here in Narvik. Good fun though. Most of the pubs and restaurants are along the main road, so you should have no trouble finding them. Worth noting though that one or two of the restaurants are located inside hotels. Now, I've mentioned this before, and it's worth mentioning again here, because at Travelcaster, we don't get any freebies. We're not paid by the travel companies or the hotels or the accommodations to stay here. We do it all ourselves. And therefore, when we recommend somewhere, it comes from the heart. And that's the case with here at the Bodø Guest House in Narvik. Unlike some B&Bs that can feel a little bit cramped and, overbearing with the owners looking over you at all times, this is a beautiful building. It's a very modern house, one of those upside down houses, which means the dining room is right at the top of the building, which gives you a fantastic view over the town of Narvik and the harbour, as do many of the rooms. And the breakfast here, really tasty too. We've only been in Narvik for an afternoon and an evening, but that's been plenty of time to see what it has to offer and to explore some of its history. But now it's time to move on to our next destination. To find out more about how to get here and what to do when you arrive, head to travelcaster.blog, subscribe to the podcast, and join us again soon for another episode of Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there.